We are live for UFC Vegas 101, which features Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas in the rematch. It should be a very interesting fight, but there's also some other big fights that we'll be giving you the full fight reaction for, and that's Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov and all the build-up in this one. So you got that, two other fights. Then, again, Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas in the rematch. We got all these fights for you next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA Podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What up, what up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA Podcast. And let's not waste any time because right now you got Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov starting right now. So this is a huge fight and a lot of anticipation coming into this one. So let's set it up. Middleweight division, UFC Vegas 101, Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov. And this fight is underway, and we're with you till this fight ends. And this is a big middleweight fight. You got a lot of talking going on heading into this fight. Chris Curtis making the claim originally that there were two Russian fighters that kind of infiltrated his gym. And then he retracted that later, which I don't get that. But, you know, you had all that stuff going on. So this USA versus Russia makes it even more interesting. This is in the Apex Center. It's kind of quiet, but, you know, there are some people there for sure. And both guys standing left-handed. And that opens up the leg kicks. You know, lefties are going to face righties most of the time, right? So when you face another lefty, it's just a little bit different for these guys. Oh, nice right by Kopylov. Another nice right. Oh, boy. And, man, that jab is ridiculous by Kopylov, and that's going to open up the left here as time goes on. So Kopylov getting off to a good start. Another left right down the pike. Oh, boy. And, you know, when all those allegations were made, you don't see Kopylov needing to do that. I mean, the guy's a really good fighter. He's 13-3, has had a lot of success. The thing going for Chris Curtis is that he's, you know, a big-time veteran with 42 fights under his belt. And Chris lands a leg kick, but he's taking a lot of punches here. Oh, it's close, though. 19-17 in significant strikes, 12-11 in head strikes. Still pretty close. Doesn't seem like it, though. More of the power shots going towards Roman Kopylov. Well, we do know how tough Chris Curtis is. I mean, he's been tough throughout. Even coming into the UFC, getting a couple big victories. Things are getting tougher now, but guy's very capable of landing KOs. He's very durable. Chris Curtis whiffing on a big left. And Kopylov is doing a much better job with the jab. He just looks more comfortable, lands a nice body shot right there after catching a leg, and lets it go. So far, both these guys fine with the stand-up game. Takedown attempt by Roman. He didn't get it. Which is one of the keys for Chris Curtis coming into this fight. Defend the takedowns, keep the fight standing, and then win this thing with sure heart and will. Kopylov is just more active, making it very tough, looking smooth, looking good on the feet. Oh, nice uppercut by Chris. Okay. Okay. Nice uppercut by Kopylov. And what a division this is right now, right? With Duplessis being the champ, you got Hamzat coming. Duplessis versus Strickland first. You still got Adesanya in the mix. Big fight night coming between Adesanya and Mayvov here in a couple weeks. So this division is heating up here early in 2025. A nice stiff left by Chris Curtis, who isn't going anywhere. I mean, it's just 46-41. And significant strikes, very active. Very active. These guys are in between 9 and 10 significant strikes per minute, so definitely more active than their career. Will one slow down first? I don't know. Final 10 seconds, round one. And Kopilov's mouth guard fell out. The ref stopped it, which is weird because there's only like 8 seconds left. And that'll do it for round one. So, no letdown here, as both these guys are going at it for sure. So at the end of round one, it's 54-47 for Kopylov in significant strikes, 40-38 in head strikes. So very close round. I mean, you look at the numbers, and this one's a round against most other UFC fighters 90% of the time, right? But you have a good round here, and you might go down 1-0, according to the judges. 10-9. No takedowns. 0 for 2 for Kopylov, 0 control time. So, I mean, if you're either fighter, I mean, what are you going to say? Just stay on the same path, really. We got to see what's going to happen. Chris Curtis obviously wants to defend the takedowns. He's done that, but he's getting beat on the feet slightly. It's very close. Kopylov, you might say, hey, shoot for some more takedowns. Attempt to get 1 or 2, but if not, keep it on the feet. You're doing fine there. So not much really to say in terms of a different strategy after round one, in my opinion. And they pick up where they left off. So very active here early in the second round. 10 seconds in, and already about 20 attempts. Ooh. Okay. Now Chris opens up with a nice 3-punch combo. And now Chris starting to work the jab with the lead leg kick. Wow. Chris Curtis picking up the pace here. Has already knotted this thing up in significant strikes. 61-61. 48-47 Curtis in head strikes. We keep you up to date with that just so you understand what's happening. It means nothing in round by round. But what you know is that Roman led by a good 7 or 8 significant strikes in round one. So if Curtis can knot it up, which he's done, he's up by 7 or 8. So, and these guys can't both keep this pace up. It just can't happen. Chris Curtis looking stronger right now. Kopylov starting to slow down. And he lands a nice right, though. Now it's Roman who's going to be tested, right? We know Chris Curtis has the will. But there's Roman. Both guys land a big right. Now it's Chris Curtis with a right and a left. Chris Curtis looking much better in round two. At an extreme pace. I mean, we're only 1:45 in here, and it seems like we're 6 minutes into this round. I mean, it's crazy. These guys are definitely going at it. The pace is ridiculous. Chris Curtis at 78 significant strikes, so we're not even halfway through the fight. And now a low kick by Kopylov, and that's going to slow things down. That's unfortunate for Chris Curtis. Dang. And he's going to want to start this thing as soon as he can, and it looks like he wants that to happen right now. Because you don't want Kopylov to get any time to rest. That quick break definitely helped Kopylov. You already see it. I mean, he's still going to be slowing down, but it's a nice break midway through the round, especially after these guys are getting after it. And a nice right on Chris Curtis, who was on his way in. Ooh. Man. In terms of who's got the most power and creating problems, it's definitely Chris Curtis. As you can see it all over Roman's face. 2:05 left in round 2, and now Roman opens up. Now what? Now what? Another time. Dang. Now we got a poke by Roman. And this is really messing things up for Chris Curtis. Seems to be wearing down Roman, but having 2 stoppages in round 2 really helps Roman get his breath back. It takes the momentum away from Chris Curtis. And now he's asking for the tag. Try to use Mark Smith's shirt. Here we go. Looks like we're going to get a start to this thing. It's so quiet in the Apex, you can hear people laughing in the background. It's crazy. Looking forward to them getting out on the road a little bit. Got LA next week for UFC 311, then UFC Saudi Arabia. Of course, that's back-to-back. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Well, it will be back-to-back because the following week is when you got Duplessis versus Strickland and a big left by Roman. But as we said earlier, some big fights in the middleweight division upcoming. Now all of a sudden it's Roman looking refreshed. And, who knows what Chris Curtis is thinking. You might just want to get through this round. I mean, you're definitely going to win this round. Barring anything, major. I mean, he's up 101 to 80 in significant strikes, and he was down 7 or 8 to begin the round. So round 1, very close. Round 2 is going to Chris Curtis. And this is all, of course, if we even get to 3 rounds. Or to a decision for that matter, because these guys, this pace is so ridiculous. And really just testing the will of each other. I mean, is what it comes down to. I mean, Chris Curtis is well over 100 significant strikes. Roman Kopylov is headed there. But it's Chris Curtis who's looking like he's getting stronger and stronger every minute. Oh, big left by Roman near the end of the round. Oh, my goodness. Big left. Oh, my goodness. Interesting fight. And, I think now if you're Roman's camp, what are you going to say here? Because your opponent is pulling away. Chris Curtis's camp is just going to say, hey, keep doing what you're doing because it's going the right direction. But Roman's camp is going to have to be thinking, what can we do differently? How can we slow Chris Curtis down? You can go back to takedown attempts, although Chris Curtis is shown that he's very good at defending takedowns. So there's not really an angle here for Roman. That leads me to believe that Chris Curtis will pull away in this round. But Roman's going to have to really check himself, dig deep. This is the time you got to show your heart and go after and get it, because that's the only way he's flipping momentum right now on Chris Curtis. He's already landed 112 significant strikes. I mean, he's just rolling right now. I mean, 112 in just 2 rounds. So that's 11 significant strikes per minute. Roman, 9.3. So these guys are way above their averages. And they're both delivering and taking. So here we go. Round 3 is underway, and a little respect before the round starts. Curtis kicks things off with a big right. Roman's hands are moving quite well, so are his feet, so it seems like he's got a little energy back. We'll see how that works here as the first minute or two continues. I think if you're Curtis, you just want to keep the pace up. Some people saying 2018 Kopylov. No way. How can you say the first was close? The second round was dominated by Chris Curtis. Oh, some big uppercuts now by Kopylov and a left. My goodness. And here we go. He's flipping momentum. He's flipping the momentum. Let's go, Chris. Come on, Chris. Why are you picking it up? Come on, Chris. Boy, this is tough because Roman's picking up the pace for sure here in round 3. And you can tell because Chris Curtis looks like he's a third of the speed he was in round 2. Now Chris Curtis showing some signs of getting tired. Hard to believe. Come on, Chris. Land something. Got to get some momentum here. Big left by Roman. Chris Curtis in a little bit of trouble. Covers up well, though. Roman looking for the opportunity, but couldn't find it. And a nice body shot now by Roman, who all of a sudden has just flipped this thing in round 3. And a nice leg kick. Gosh. Come on, Chris. You got to do something here. Come on, Chris. These guys are going at it, dude. These guys are going at it. Halfway through the round, barely. I mean, it's just crazy. So far, this is looking like the obvious choice for fight of the night. Now, there's 3 fights to go. But right now, this fight is unreal. Gosh, you look at the numbers and you think, okay, Roman is closing the gap, but he's not. I mean, this round has been pretty even, although it seems like it's more Roman. So Chris Curtis has got to definitely pick it up here in the final 2 minutes. Oh. Gosh. Okay, Chris, now's your time. He's looking a little tired. You got to defend the takedown. He doesn't. Oh, that was crucial, man. That was crucial. That was right about the time it looked like Chris was going to flip the script on him and close the door. And after he lands one, he's kind of off balance, and boom, Roman comes in for the takedown. Dang. Oh, don't give up your back. Dang, Chris, come on, baby. Yeah, he's got to get out of this at all costs. And he does. Almost. Oh, leg kick coming up. Roman really timed it. But Chris doesn't worry about that. He's got to continue. This is going to be a big finish here. 38-34 in this round for Kopylov. Yeah, it's easily 1-1 right now. And Chris has to finish here because he looks like he's off balance a little bit. Turns and being able to move. Both guys just got their feet planted in the ground right now. Roman's hands on his knees. He stands back up. 40 seconds left, and these guys are exhausted. And I still think it's anyone's fight, but I think Roman is leading this round. Chris needs a big finish here. Now Kopylov going in again, and he almost gets it. Almost gets a takedown. Chris Curtis remains standing, though. And that just shows you how tired Roman is, too. Like when you get to a point where it's just like, you know what, I'm just going to try to get the takedown and just hold this thing and finish it. You know you're tired. Final 6 seconds, and these guys are exhausted. What a fight. Oh, and Chris Curtis goes down. Oh, and Mark Smith stops it with 1 second left. Mark Smith calls it with 1 second left. And what happened was Chris Curtis took one, and he goes down. And he attempts to get back up, but he doesn't. And Mark Smith's looking at him, and he's looking at the clock, and he's like, that's it. And it's going to be a controversial stoppage, but I mean, we need to see the judges' scorecards now. This is one of those things. But Roman Kopylov gets the credit for the TKO, and Chris Curtis is upset, but that's the way it goes, man. It was a good stoppage. It was just a shame there's only like 1 second left. Beam lands the left, okay. So Chris takes a step back. Okay, that wasn't the right one. Here we go. We're going to see it now because it was a leg kick. Beam. Perfect. Oh, wow. Okay, Chris Curtis takes to his knees. Roman doesn't come in for any more shots, though. That's the crazy part. And Roman just walks away, and Mark Smith calls it. 1 second left. Unbelievable. So Roman Kopylov going to get credit for the TKO victory here. Unbelievable. Middleweight division. UFC Vegas 101. So, wow, that's crazy, man. That is absolutely crazy, but that's the way it goes. Listen, after this short break, we'll be back for fight 3, Cesar Almeida versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Stay tuned. Bo Nickel believes he's a better grappler than Khamzat Chimaev. Let me say this again. Bo Nickel believes he's a better grappler than Khamzat Chimaev.
Ooh-wee.
I just can't believe. I mean, are you serious? Bo Nickel, are you serious?
Whoa.
Khamzat Chimaev would absolutely destroy you on the ground. I mean, he would pick you up, toss you around, have his way with you. And if your last fight is any indication, you're not even on the same planet as Khamzat Chimaev.
Whoa.
I mean, you shouldn't even be able to bring his name up right now. The last fight did not go well. I mean, the last fight didn't go well at all. Barely won. While at the same time talking about the gas tank. People keep talking about Khamzat Chimaev's gas tank, and the bottom line is you don't need a gas tank if you're just demolishing people. In the 2 fights he needed a gas tank, yeah, he started to fall apart, but if you go back and look at that 3rd round against Gilbert Burns, both of those guys were going at it. I mean, yeah, they're slowing down, but you're talking about 60-plus significant strikes apiece in that round. So tell me Khamzat's slowing down. You know, he's only getting better, and he's with different coaching and management now. I mean, all that's not management, but different coaching, trainers, things of that nature. So I don't think the gas tank should be a question at this point in time. But if you're just simply talking about grappling, okay, Bo Nickel has some skills in wrestling, but Khamzat just demolishes him. I'm just telling you right now. It's not even close. All right, so let's jump into the Q&A. At Destroyer of Moron says, no, it is not Brazil on Brazil. Talking about Mackenzie Dern, really. Mackenzie Dern is not Brazilian. She's American. Well, she's American-Brazilian or Brazilian-American. So she does have that in her, okay? So, yeah, she's not Brazilian, but she's Brazilian-American. So she obviously has Brazilian in her, so I feel comfortable making that statement, Brazil on Brazil. Meaning both of them can go to the ground. It's going to be a highly interesting first main event of the year, for sure. Now, NTN MMA says DDP will finish Pillow Hands in the 3rd or 4th by TKO. Yeah, it's very possible. I think it's going to a decision, but you never know. Anton 2194, go read the rules for scoring. Strikes worth with more impact scores. Strickland only jabs and never goes for a finish. Yeah, and I know the rules. I get it, and I agree. I'm not in disagreement with you whatsoever. I know impact does score. And that's why you look at the numbers and you're like, how'd the other person win? Well, they had more impact punches, significant strikes. Good point. The Master says, I'm still hoping Strickland pulls out and we get Khamzat versus DDP on short notice. Winning the belt on short notice would be awesome. Yep. But that's not going to happen, right? I don't think anyone's pulling out of that. Blue 3 enjoys his crazy performance. Khamzat is so legit. And, you know, in the last podcast, we looked at 2024 in review, and that's what people are weighing in on. Great year, 6 new UFC champions. Alex Pereira is the fighter of the year. And that's the way 2024 turned out. And now 2025 is on the horizon, and it's going to be absolutely ridiculous with 4 great fights already scheduled. And you know the UFC is working to deliver even more If they can deliver Hamza versus Pereira, the UFC community would go bananas, right? To keep it clean, go bananas. As we jump into the Q&A, you got the master saying, dang, this will be a sweet matchup for you. Talking about Hamza Chimaev and Alex Pereira. And you said it. It couldn't be better. It couldn't be better. If they could just get that scheduled, I would love it. Avery All Day says best in wrestling versus best in striking. And I assuming you're saying Hamza is the best in wrestling, obviously. Pereira the best in striking, but I don't think it matters. And Hamza has better striking ability than people realize. I'm telling you that right now. But I understand why you would make that comment. But yeah, that's a fight that the people want to see. Now, in the last podcast, we discussed Conor McGregor. Blue by You says, who the heck wants to see McGregor fight? Isn't he like 40? And yeah, he's closer to 40 than he is 30. So, all this time out of the octagon and trying to make a return is going to make it very tough, right? Very tough. That's hilarious. The master is back. Maybe after we submit Pereira, who's popular among casual fans, right? True. Maybe then the casuals will start doubting us, or will stop doubting us is probably what he meant to say. Yeah. I mean, I think you got to give this guy an opportunity, man. He's got to fight someone for the title, and we don't need to wait all the way till the summer or end of the year. I mean, let's make it happen. D. Michael Reynolds is back, says, yes, Strickland style that we have seen in the past leads to him losing this fight. And of course, Hamza, let's go. No doubt. And yeah, I think Sean loses his fight with Duplessis, and then it's kind of like, well, why do we schedule it? Like, we've already seen this fight twice, and the outcome's been the same. Now, if Sean wins, it could change that storyline, but that's the way it appears right now. Anthony Dew says they're completely unequal on the feet. Back to Hamza and Pereira. The stats don't mean anything, but I still think Hamza will dominate him. So a couple of people saying it's unequal on the feet. So it will lead you to believe that in this one, Hamza is going to shoot for takedowns. Pereira's probably going to go in this and think, I'm Alex Pereira. He's not just going to shoot and take me down. So I'm going to utilize the kickboxing style and keep him off guard. But I don't think that's what happens at all. I think Hamza goes in for the immediate takedown, and then Pereira has a real problem on the ground. The size doesn't matter. Hamza goes in there, and Hamza's just going to go in there and dismantle Pereira. And people would then be like, oh my goodness. And that's why I would like this fight to happen so bad, because if he beats Alex Pereira, you take down one of the, for lack of better words, kings of MMA right now. And if he totally dismantled Robert Whittaker, but now that this is a different level, we don't have time to wait on the middleweight, so give us a light heavyweight. Obviously, Pereira doesn't want to fight Ankalaev, and he's not fighting John Jones. This would be the exact right time for this fight to happen. Right now. Make it happen. Right now. But that's the way it's looking, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's what the people are talking about in the middleweight division at UFC Vegas 101. You got Cesar Almeida, Brazilian 6-1, taking on Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who comes in at 12-6. He's from Ghana, so Brazil versus Ghana. Almeida, 3 inches taller at 6'1". He's 36. Al Hassan, 39. So he's getting up there. Almeida right behind him, though. Almeida 1 inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Almeida slightly more active, 4.1 to 3.6 significant strikes per minute. So you're only looking at about a 7 to 8 significant strike difference throughout the fight. So that's very close. Al Hassan can land like a takedown every 3 rounds. Almeida, 57% takedown defense. That might lead to 2 or 3 takedowns. He beat Ihor Potieria by decision, 57-44 in significant strikes, gave up 3 takedowns. Lost to Roman Kopylov, who had 5 takedowns. That loss came by split decision, as Almeida still won on the feet. And he beat Dylan Budka by second round KO, so he's won 2 of his last 3. So he's susceptible to losing fights, obviously, but even when he lost to Kopylov, it was by split decision. So it's not going to be easy for Al Hassan. He had a no contest against Cody Brundage. lost to Joe Pyfer by submission. Beat Claudio Ribeiro by second round KO. Lost to Joaquin Buckley by split decision, which that looks even better now after what Buckley did to Covington. So very close fight here as well. It's not going to be easy to start the year. Al Hassan, very capable on the feet, could land a KO at any time. Almeida's lacking in experience, but I still, in a close fight, got to lean towards the Brazilian here. I'm just worried about the experience level and Al Hassan's ability to, land strikes where you're like, whoa, he gets a big finish, and very possible here, but I'm leaning towards Almeida to get the job done here. He is a slight favorite, so hopefully this comes through, but I like Almeida to win by decision, landing more significant strikes, which he's done in every fight. Al Hassan's got to go for takedowns, and Almeida's got to stop those takedowns to win this fight. Right? You can give up 2, maybe 3, but not 4 or 5 if he wants to go to 7-1. But in my opinion, that's what happens. Middleweight division. UFC Vegas 101.
You're watching the TCMMA Podcast. And now, back to your host, Chris Cross.
Welcome back to the TCMMA Podcast. It's your boy Chris Cross, and we're headed into Fight 3. And you just saw the prediction, man, but who knows? What do we know, basically? It's been a struggle tonight to get the picks right. But it is what it is. You always got another chance, right? You got Cesar Almeida, Abdul Razak, Al Hassan, and just another big fight to kick off the year. First fight card of the year. Been a lot of drama up to this point, a lot of finishes, some long fights, some good fights, and certainly some good finishes. Hopefully things just get better here as we head into the big 3. And man, it's hard to believe that the ref stopped the fight there with 1 second left in the previous fight. But nonetheless, I think Kopylov was going to win the decision. But yeah, if you missed that and you're just joining us, a big finish there by Roman Kopylov at the bell. And he could have went in for more, but he decided not to. Right? He could have went in there for the big finish, but decided not to. And still, Mark Smith stopped the fight. You're watching live here, TCMMA Podcast, Dern versus Ribas 2, UFC Vegas 101. That's what you need to know. And we're now in Fight 3, big middleweight showdown. Another middleweight fight. And it's exciting because the middleweight division is on high right now. I mean, the middleweight division is just ridiculous. With all the big fights we got coming up, we just saw probably the fight of the night in the previous fight, middleweight division. So, you have all that going on. And now Hassan looks like he's ready, baby. And I think we got Cesar Almeida winning this fight. Close fight, took the Brazilian, but we know a lot about Abdul Razak Al Hassan. And it just depends on which fighter shows up. And it's been a rough night for the predictions. We're trying to avoid a losing night to open the year. I mean, that would be terrible. Let's go, Cesar. We need you, baby. Keep us alive here. Let's get this thing back to 500. Let's go. Let's go. Mike Beltran has the fight. And here we go. Let's tune this thing up. You got Cesar Almeida, Brazilian, taking on. All right, here we go. UFC Vegas 101, middleweight division. Full fight reaction for Cesar Almeida versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan. And watch on a quick finish for Al Hassan or more of a drawn-out victory by Almeida. That's kind of how I see this thing going. The longer it goes, the better for Almeida. Al Hassan is known for getting quick finishes from time to time, or getting beat quickly too. And Almeida started out with a leg kicker. Both these guys really feeling each other out. Much of a different look than the previous fight, where it was just straight activity from beginning to end. Ooh. Al Hassan comes in with nice left-right combination, and already he hasn't even landed yet. It seems to be causing problems for Almeida, but now Al Hassan comes in, and this is where it'll get interesting, is how will Almeida match up with Al Hassan. We always give a little credit when we see Brazilian in the name, because we know that's part of their routine, right? They're definitely working on grappling, defending takedowns, all that. So at the very least. And a nice right by Al Hassan. And already you look at the numbers, and it's not even close compared to the last fight. These guys are being much more calculated, trying to read each other. Both guys delivering some big shots. Really haven't landed, but you see the power, that's for sure. And you can see Al Hassan's face, like, how do I read this guy? Like, he's not moving. He's a big dude, and he's just standing right there. He doesn't really back up. Like, when he did move back, he just took a jab step. Like, he's willing to stand in there and take it, but that also means he can deliver. So Al Hassan is, kind of looking at him like, how am I gonna deal with this? And he keeps resetting and switching stances. Both guys landing a leg kick now. Starting to pick up a little bit. Let's go, Caesar. Pick the pace up, baby. Al Hassan coming in once again. Caesar defends it pretty well. Okay. Okay. Make me a believer. Both guys landing a knee now. Almeida just forced back into the fence, but he's doing a good job of keeping the underhooks, landing knees to the body, and it's just 12-8 in significant strikes. So neither guy really doing a lot on the feet. Both guys separate back into the center. Immediately, Almeida walks back. Al Hassan lands a big right. Almeida goes down to his back, and he got him there. But now Almeida's trying to hold on to the legs. If you're Al Hassan, you got to really pick the pace up here and try to get the finish. This is what I was worried about. And that's what he wants to do, ground and pound right here. Don't try to grapple with Almeida. You got to land, and that's what he's doing. He's losing position. Allows Almeida to stand up, but that's what you got to do. Especially with a minute left in the round. Now he's opening up once again. Ooh, now Al Hassan coming in now, landing some big shots. Oh, big left by Almeida. Yes. Yes. Boom, baby. Are you serious? He was basically finished and just landed at it. Unbelievable, man. What? And both guys play the same game. They're going to stand in there and throw, and one's going to fall. And in this case, it was Abdul Razak Al Hassan who's going to see this film and not believe it because he had the fight finished. Cesar Almeida gets the big KO to move to 7-1, and they're going to be talking about this. back-to-back middleweight division finishes here at UFC Vegas 101. Unbelievable, man. Oh, baby. It's hard to believe, man. It just seemed like it was going the other way. I mean, it seemed like it was going the other way. But nonetheless, that's the way things work out. Stay tuned. We're coming back with Fight 2, the co-main event, after this. So the big news today, since we spoke to you last, and we're about a day behind on this, but we haven't been on the podcast since this news broke, and that's Dana White is joining Facebook, aka Meta's board of directors. And don't you love how these companies are switching names, like Twitter became X and Facebook is Meta, and still Facebook, but it's Meta too. It's confusing. But you've seen a complete 180 by Mark Zuckerberg. And, you know, you can break this down in many ways, right? Because of all the censorship and things that were going on, you know, over really the last, 4 to 6 years. A lot of people getting kicked off, including the incoming president, Donald Trump, was kicked off. And now that Trump's coming back in, you've seen a complete 180 by Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg. And, you know, a part of me is like, too little, too late. The other part of me is like, all right, at least you're making an effort. At least you're changing with the times. I don't always like that, because then it's like, well, 4 years later, it could be go back the other way again. But I think also we got to keep in mind that social media is still relatively new. You know, if you're growing up right now and you're like 20 or under, this stuff has almost been around since you've been born, or since you can last remember. For the rest of us that are a little bit older, we live without it, and now we have it. So we remember a time when this stuff wasn't around. And long story short, this stuff is evolving still. And you know, you're going to go through ups and downs and, you know, curvy roads before this thing hits the straightaway highway. But, you know, this is just changing with the times. Dana White joining the board doesn't change much. It just gives him a voice, right? And you already kind of know what he's going to be saying in there. Let people talk. If it's not causing violence and those type of things, let people say what they're going to say, and let the community sort it out, right? Not fact checkers, but the community. So, and then you got to get into, you know, Trump is a huge UFC fan. He shows up to the event. So him and Dana White are tight. Dana White speaking at the RNC, the Republican National Convention, I think the last 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, and all of which Trump has been the leading candidate. So there's a close friendship there. Mark Zuckerberg has really dove deep into MMA, not because of all this, just because he likes it. And now, you know, he's starting to get around not different people, but other people, right? He's not stuck in that bubble. He's getting around other people. Time is evolving, and so will Mark Zuckerberg. And, you know, if you look at the trend based on age, and this goes for myself as well, it's not like you become total conservative as you get older, but you definitely, even if you're far left or, you know, deep liberal, you always move to the, you start to, not always, but as you get older, a lot of people move toward the center and even on, you know, more to the conservative side. You don't leave behind the social views of liberalism, but you definitely start moving closer and closer to the center. And I think you see that as people get older. Most of the young folks, and again, this isn't all, but I'm saying if you look at the trend, most young folks are more liberal, more left. As you get older and money becomes a factor in your life, you start to slide to the center in terms of economic and monetary values and things of that nature. So you're starting to see that from Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, I'm not even sure how old Zuckerberg is now. I'm saying young, but he's probably 40s, 50s. So he's starting to move more towards the center, and you see that. Yeah, he's 40 years old. So he's right about that age. And you see like Elon Musk, 53. These guys are not becoming total conservatives, but it's exactly what the conservative side wants, is you want to get these guys in the middle. Let's bring the Republican right wing, whatever you want to call it, let's bring that closer to the middle. I mean, Trump was more of a Democrat 10, 15 years ago. Uh, and now he slid more to the middle, a little bit to the right in some areas. But, this is what happens. And really, everything is coming to the middle. And that's what I like. Even if it's for 4 years, things are coming to the middle. And you're going to start seeing a change with Facebook and Twitter. It's back to the early days where you say what you want and the community will filter it out. Please believe it. I mean, just on this podcast, we see in the comments all the time, if we're slightly wrong on something, people jump on it, man. And that's what the community is there for. That's why there's a comment section. Now, as we work our way up into the co-main event, we got Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris, big welterweight division fight. And we want to take a look back at how we got here with these two, right? So not so much Ponzinibbio, but let's look at Jeremiah Wells versus Carlston Harris before we get to the prediction. Here's how that fight turned out. Kind of an awkward submission attempt, but Carlston Harris isn't letting go. I mean, he has it locked in. And we'll see if Wells can hang on. Boy, I don't know. They better check him. Here. That left hand's dropping. He's out. It's over. Yes. Wow. Carlston Harris gets the win, jumps on top of the cage. And the crowd at Nashville loves it. And Jeremiah Wells is going to be fine. But Carlston Harris, man, a fight he was going to lose. He had to get the finish in the third round, and he got it. Yeah, so Carlston Harris is no stranger to finishes. And, expect a high-level fight from his side in this one. Now, we did find one with Ponzinibbio where I believe he did get the finish. We didn't get to cut this video down, but that's all right. Let's take a look back at Ponzinibbio versus Alex Morono. Check this out.
Ooh, and Ponzinibbio fires back with a jab. But he's taking some big shots from Morono. Now Morono ducks a shot from Ponzinibbio. Ponzinibbio lands a right. It's picking up here, final 250 at a fight. Should come down to this round, although it's been close in each of the first two. When Ponzinibbio comes in and then ducks a counterpunch from Morono. Morono looks a little bit out on his feet. He takes a right. Oh, Morono's in trouble. Morono goes down. It's over. And Ponzinibbio goes crazy after looking tired here in round 3. He finally connects on a big right hand, and Morono looks stunned. And that's it. And I like to tell you that Morono just looked tired because he took the fight on short notice. That wasn't it. Ponzinibbio kept fighting. What heart he showed there. And Argentina's having a big, big weekend. Here with the World Cup, and now Ponzinibbio getting the win. He's going to move to 30-6, and he ends Alex Morono's 4-fight win streak. And this fight went down catchweight style, 180 pounds. And Santiago Ponzinibbio jumped the cage. He's walking around, fist pumping everybody. Yeah, Morono looked out of it, man. And Morono goes down, man. You see the replay. He looked fine until boom, right on the chin. Right on the button. Boy, we're holding it down here. 10 straight finishes. Can we get 2 more? You would think so in the next 2 fights. But man, Ponzinibbio, 2 straight rights to finish this thing. And he's fired up. Catchweight fight, UFC 282.
Yeah, and that's interesting because you don't see 10 straight finishes ever in the UFC. So a major run there, UFC 282 must have been a big event, but it's been several years ago now, so I can't really remember. But nonetheless, let's get into the prediction between both of these two. This is Carlston Harris. Oh, and I see what happened. We got to go back and find Carlston Harris now. That's all right. We'll figure it out. So Carlston Harris versus Santiago Ponzinibbio, and we might not have this one. See if I can find it over here. Nope. Come on now. All right, there it is. Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. Let's get into it right now. In the welterweight division at UFC Vegas 101, you got Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Carlston Harris. This is Argentina versus Guyana, 30-8 versus 19-6. So a lot of experience in the octagon for both fighters. They both stand 6 feet. Ponzinibbio 38, Harris 37. So they're getting up there. Can't afford to waste any time. Harris 3-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Ponzinibbio is more active with 4.7 significant strikes per minute to 3.2 for Harris. Takedown game, though, favors Harris. You get to like 2 takedowns every 3 rounds. Ponzinibbio 66% takedown defense, so he's stopping 2 out of 3. But that would lead you to believe Harris is going to get some takedowns in this fight. Santiago has struggled lately, losing to Muslim Salikov by split decision. He got KO'd by Kevin Holland. Before that, he beat Alex Morono and lost to Mikel Pereira. So he's had some tough fights, which is only going to serve to make him better, right? Carlston Harris, on the other hand, lost to Chaos Williams, first round KO. Before that, he beat Jeremiah Wells by submission, Jared Gordon by decision, and lost to Shavkat. So both guys, man, with a lot of experience in the octagon. This is a toss-up fight, and when I look at the odds, it's the same. It's completely even. So it just depends on which way you want to go with this one. I'm going to lean towards Carlston Harris, even though I like Ponzinibbio. And this guy, well, both of them face solid opponents, but I'm going to lean towards Carlston Harris because of the takedown game. If he can't land takedowns, it's going to be a long night because Ponzinibbio will outpace him. So I'm banking on the fact that Harris gets a decision victory by controlling 2 out of 3 rounds. But very close decision, and Ponzinibbio has been in a few split decision fights. So, you know, he might have an advantage there as well, but I'm just leaning towards Carlston Harris in a very close fight to get the job done here. Move to 20-6. He's chasing that 20th victory here in the welterweight division at UFC Vegas 101. Yeah, and I know we said this throughout the card, but tough fight to predict. You know, it's like anything can happen in this particular fight. And that's probably why it's the co-main event. But we'll lean towards Carlston Harris to get the victory and be rooting hard for him to do so in order to get as many wins in this first card as possible. You know how serious we are about the predictions, and it's like you want to kick off the year on the right note. But as we went through these 14 fights, very, very tough to predict.
You're watching the TCMMA podcast. And now, back to your host, Chris Cross.
Welcome back to the TCMMA podcast. It's your boy Chris Cross checking in. Get ready for the co-main event. Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. And that's right, we put the gloves on, baby. We had to put the gloves on. We turned the heat off at the beginning of the broadcast. So if you start seeing, you know, stuff come out of my mouth, you know the temperature is dropping. And the temperature is dropping. But luckily we got 2 fights to go. I'm just worried the main event's going to be a decision. It's going to be 5 rounds of just, yeah. So we probably got another hour left here. But nonetheless, let's take a look at where we're at right now. Oh, actually, let's just pull up fight 2 while we're here. No big deal. We got a minute anyway. So Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris on deck. But here's where we stand right now. We're 6-6 on a night. Right? Started out 1-3. Then won 3 in a row, got to 4-3. Then lost 2 in a row, we're 4-5. Then 5-5. Then 5-6. Then 6-6. So that's where it stands right now. Sitting at 6-6. Heading into the final 2 fights of a 14-fight card to begin the year. So we're definitely not pulling away in the wins and losses. We're just basically holding on for tonight. And we got 2 tough ones coming up. We need Carlston Harris and Mackenzie Dern to get it done to start the year off with a winning record. But both could very easily fall. So that's what we're worried about. So listen, while you're watching, do me a favor, hit the like button, the subscribe button, do all that. Make sure you get access to future videos, especially all the fight predictions we're putting up. We're working hard on that for you. Please believe it. And as always, if you get involved in the chat room, we will be there for you. And we got one person weighing in, but I can't understand because it's in a different language, but that's all right. So as you look at Ponzinibbio, I mean, the guy is 30-8. 30-8. Both guys are going to be 6 feet tall. Carlson Harris, 19-6, Argentina versus Guyana. And when you look at the pre-fight odds, and this has been something we've done throughout the night, is look at the underdogs. Carlson Harris is a plus 130. So again, it's no given he's going to win. As we peek into the main event, Mackenzie Dern is the underdog. So we're taking the underdogs. Really impressed with Cesar Almeida in the last fight. It looked like we were going to take the fall there and drop to 5-7, which would have put us in a lot of trouble in week 1 to start the year with a losing record. We'll take, at this point, we'll take a 7-7 night, right? But more importantly, we really want the main event, and Mackenzie Dern is plus 160. So we're taking some chances, that's for sure. So stay with us. Waiting for the next fight to kick off. Let me peek in at the football score, though. What's going on with the Steelers and the Ravens? I'm hoping to see the second half of this game, but it's not looking good. Already halfway through the second quarter, it's 7-0. Ravens are at the Pittsburgh 37, so they're looking to go up 2 scores. So that's the way that thing's going. By the time this ends, and we get all the editing done, it's going to be probably the fourth quarter, even if we're lucky. But I think that last fight might go the distance. We might be here a while. But right now they're getting both guys introduced. They're kind of taking their time. They've had a little bit of time here in between fights. And that's just because the last fight finished pretty quickly. So stay tuned. That's what's interesting too. They're trying to make money in a pay-per-view event. The money's already made. Those fights pump out. Here on a fight night, they're going to take their sweet 30 minutes, and really we're about 3 to 5 minutes from being on schedule. So that's about when this fight's going to start, I'm sure. I'm sure of it. Big week next week, UFC 311. Cannot wait for next week at UFC 311 because you got a big fight, man. You got a big fight between Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan. So while we're waiting here, let's preview UFC 311 for next week and take a look at that prediction. Be right back. In the lightweight division at UFC 311, this is your main event for the lightweight division title, the best division and the best title in the UFC, in my opinion. You got Islam Makhachev, the current champ, comes in at 26-1 in the rematch against Arman Tsarukyan, who comes in at 22-3. And obviously, both of these guys have been impressive. Now, let's get into it. Islam Makhachev, 3 inches taller at 5'10". He's 33. Tsarukyan now 28 years old. He was much younger at the time, which would make you believe this is going to be a closer fight, potentially. Tsarukyan, 3-inch reach advantage. Islam fights left-handed. Tsarukyan fights right-handed. Tsarukyan, 3.8 significant strikes per minute, 2.7 for Islam. But we know Islam slows down his opponents with the takedown game, right? Both guys have a takedown game landing more than 1 takedown on average, right around 1, but slightly more than 1 per round. Now, Islam, 90% takedown defense. Tsarukyan, 79% takedown defense. And these numbers kind of line up. In the first fight, it was a decision win for Islam Makhachev. It was 14-13 in significant strikes. Not very action-packed. And this is back in 2019, of course, so Tsarukyan's like 22, 23 at the time, right? He's evolved, so is Islam. In that fight, 4 takedowns for Islam, 1 for Arman Tsarukyan. And we know the story with both these guys since then. They've been highly impressive. Tsarukyan has won 4 in a row. He did lose to Mateusz Gamrot by decision, giving up 6 takedowns to 1 in that fight. And see, to me, that's the problem. Now, Tsarukyan did beat Charles Oliveira by split decision. Didn't give up any takedowns against Charles Oliveira. That was impressive. So it's shown he has gotten better. He hasn't given up a takedown in the 4-fight win streak, and he's had 13 takedowns to 0, basically. But against Mateusz in 2022, he gave up those 6 takedowns. And that leads me to believe that still, even though he's gotten better, he's in the prime window, might even be a champion one day as Islam hits 36, 37, 38, right? Or maybe moves up to the welterweight division. But I don't see him winning this fight right now. Islam is too good. Islam is making sure that he's 100% going into this fight. He's made Sarukian wait for several months. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, listen, I can't go against Islam Makhachev. I mean, this guy is the real deal. We got him at like number 3 or 4 on the due list. I think it's number 4, right behind Hamza Chimaev, John Jones, and Alex Pereira. You got Islam Makhachev. So he's one of my favorite fighters. Make no mistake about it. And he should win this fight in dominant fashion. Hopefully, for his sake, he can get the finish, because that would really close the door on all the Arman Sarukian talk. That's what I hope happens. That's what I believe happens. But either way, I got Islam Makhachev dominating the ground and winning this fight by decision or submission. We'll see. But he retains a lightweight belt in this one and moves to 27-1, in my opinion, here in the lightweight division for the lightweight division title, your main event at UFC 311. Yeah, so certainly going to be an interesting fight there next Saturday night. I mean, you get the rematch with everything on the line. 2 great fighters. Take my money. That's how I feel. Take my money now. Islam's one of the GOATs right now. And if Arman can find a way to beat him, that will really shake things up early in 2025. But I think there's going to be a lot of title defenses this year. I think in our prediction for UFC champions at the end of the year, and of course we took some chances like Hamza at light heavyweight. That seems to have simmered down now between him and Alex Pereira, but definitely taking some chances. But I think we only had 4, maybe 5 champions fallen. Like guys like Pantoja, Topuria, Islam. I don't see those guys falling this year. I don't see John Jones falling unless he retires after the Tom Aspinall fight. So, a lot of that remains to be seen. But I think this one kicks off with a title defense by Islam Makhachev. So finally, we get the introductions for these two. We're about a minute away from the fight. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. Excuse me. There's Carlston Harris looking serious again, fighting out of Guyana, 19-6. Nearly 50-50, but Ponzinibbio is a slight favorite. That makes Harris the underdog. And it's closed up. The odds have closed up as we've gotten closer to fight time. I mean, he's barely an underdog, and Ponzinibbio is barely a favorite. Hoping for a finish here, I'll be honest. Hoping for a finish. All right, so let's tune this thing up, shall we? UFC Vegas 101 full fight reaction, co-main event, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. The time is now, and this is a big fight with big implications because both guys are very good. They're not like top 10, but they're both very good. And this is a tough division, ruled by Bilal Muhammad at the top. We had Jacoby Smith getting the job done early tonight with a big finish. And this division, much like the middleweight division, is heating up, and both guys touch gloves, and we're finally underway. And Ponzinibbio with 30 wins. Harris looking for his 20th, so, as long as someone wins, I mean, these guys are going to have a combined 50 wins in the octagon. So a lot of experience here in this fight. And as I said earlier, man, we cut the heat off at the beginning of the broadcast, so we're hoping for finishes. We got 2 finishes so far in the first 2. One was pretty quick. The other was at the last second of the fight. So it's basically like a decision. Oh, big right already by Pons. Ooh, that's not good for the prediction. Let's go, Carlson. You got to keep him off of him, man. The guy's got power. They're both 6 feet tall, but it's almost like Harris is 6'3" and Ponzinibbio is 6 feet. Because Ponzinibbio gets low, and he's packing power. Ooh, big right. Followed by Harris. And a nice little pace here. Not as quick as the Chris Curtis Roman Kopylov fight, but a decent pace here. I mean, they are feeling each other out, but the pace is nice. 10-6 right now for Harris in significant strikes. So you're looking at he's right around a pace at 30, 5 or 6 per minute. Nice leg kick too by Harris. So other than that one big power punch by Ponzinibbio, Harris has kind of looked comfortable here. And he tries to shoot him for the takedown. Ponzinibbio stands him straight up, digs the underhooks, and gets out of there. It looks like. Yes, he does. Go Harris, get involved here. I like your covering up, but you got to do something, man. You got to pour it on. Let's go. Come on, throw a jab. Do something. There's a leg kick, but it's more of a tap halfway through round 1. Harris is landing. It just doesn't seem like there's a lot there. Okay, there's a nice body shot. Harris is doing a good job of getting in and out. So for him, it's more precision. Ponzinibbio's looking for the power, but the problem with that, if you're not landing the power shots, in this case, Carlson Harris is going to outpace you, and that's what seems to be the angle for Carlson Harris. Is he's just going to be a little more active. May not land, as much power shots, but he's going to tap you more. He's going to land strikes, and it just depends on how the judges are going to look at that if it goes all the way. Ooh, nice uppercut and another one by Harris. And what I'm seeing in these exchanges is that Harris is not backing up. Ponzinibbio's coming in, excuse me, but Harris is kind of dodging and weaving the first punch and countering really well. Nice takedown defense here by Ponzinibbio. 1 minute left, round 1. He takes a left. Almost went down. Ooh, another jab. Boy, these jabs are doing it for Carlson Harris. Ooh, another one. Oh, Pons goes down. He takes another one. Stands back up. And boy, it doesn't seem like there's a lot there for Carlson, but when he lands, it's causing problems. Come on, Carlson. Gosh, that jab is starting to really land, and a big right drops Pons. And Carlson Harris gets on top, and he can't get the finish. He tried to go for a rear, but it didn't work. And boy, he's really picking this thing up here. And Ponzinibbio's in a little bit of trouble here at the end of the round. But he will get to the end of the round as he takes a right at the bell. And Pons is grabbing the back of his head and saying, why wasn't that called? And it looks like maybe Ponzinibbio, I did see that too. When Carlson Harris landed a big punch, Ponzinibbio kind of turned his back to him. And Harris landed a left. And it looked like he caused some problems in the back of the head for Ponzinibbio. So Ponzinibbio's pointing there and saying, hey, listen, I got hit back here. There's no call. But as we go into the end of the first round, it's 36-19. Harris really pulling away. 18-11 in head strikes. So it's 36-19 in total strikes, 36-19 in significant strikes, 18-11 in head strikes. And man, we see the replay here, the left, right, bing, bing. He didn't even land with the left. See, but that left that he's landing kind of set it up. Set up the right. And if you're Santiago's corner, you're telling him you got to be, a little cautious here at the beginning of the round. He doesn't seem like he's 100% anymore. If I'm Carlston Harris, I'm trying to finish this thing in the first minute. At least that's the body language that Ponzinibbio is sending right now. And that movement for Carlston Harris is really a plus, right? Because if Ponzinibbio is not 100%, that movement just causes more problems. Because now in order to land, you got to chase, continue keeping Ponzinibbio thinking. Whenever you throw, he's no longer there. Things like that. Ponzinibbio's corner did a great job in between rounds of kind of cleaning him up. He looks fresh again in the face. And no lingering effects from round one. Now Ponzinibbio lands a nice right. And here comes a jab from Carlston Harris. Which if you're him, you really want to continue utilizing it. I mean, it's causing problems for Ponzinibbio, keeping him off balanced. Ponzinibbio can't get in close enough, right? He's got to. Ponzinibbio seems like it just seems like as the fight goes on, he's got less of a reach. So he's got to really, open up and step in there to land. And as for Carlston, just wants to keep that jab going to keep the distance, keep it where he likes it. Ponzinibbio lands a left. Oh, nice right by by Santiago. Unbelievable. And some of these fights that we've seen tonight are just the momentum swings are unbelievable. Like Cesar Almeida looked like he was finished, and he got the finish. Chris Curtis and Roman Kopylov had a back and forth. There was another fight or two earlier in the night that was like back and forth. I mean, it's just crazy when these guys look like they're done, and they come back in the next round. When both guys really throwing now, Carlston Harris does not look as energetic as he did just 2 minutes ago. Still throwing though. Oh, and Santiago falls. Ponzinibbio back to his feet. He jogs it off. But Harris goes right back to work with the jab. So takedown's not a factor in this fight. A lot of really good takedown defense tonight all around for all the fighters who have done a good job here, especially in the main card of keeping these fights standing. Boom, nice body shot, Carlson. Let's go. Now he's starting to work the jab a little bit with the leg kicks. So it's allowing him to pull away slightly. But this round is much closer than the first one. Santiago still's got that power. Carlson's got to be careful. He's got to keep using that jab. That jab has always caused problems in his fight for Santiago, so continue using it. Every time he throws it, you could just tell. It's almost like he's getting more with the left than the right, except that one that he dropped him with, of course. Final minute, round two. Oh, nice right, left, right by Santiago. Big right by Harris. This is turning into a nice back and forth. Boom. Come on, Carlson. There it is. There's the left. Come on. Because I think Santiago might have won this round. I mean, it's close. It is absolutely close. Yeah, Santiago looked better in that round. Round 2's over. And, sometimes, I mean, not sometimes, I believe almost always when the judges see one fighter dominate the first round, then the second round is close. I think human nature is just to go with the other guy, right? Because the fight's close enough to where we don't want to go into the final round 2-0, right? Because it might look like the guy that's down 2-0 dominates round 3 and loses the fight. And it would appear that he dominated the last 7 to 8 minutes of the fight. So I think human nature is to give it to the other guy. So if I had to guess, I'd say this is 1-1. You might have one judge give it 2-0 for Carlston, which is then how you get into split decision situations. Especially if you have a close third round or Ponzinibbio wins a third round, you might get a split decision in his favor. But round 2 is close enough that you got to assume one or two judges gave that to Ponzinibbio. 70-48 for Harris in significant strikes, 39-36 in head strikes, so very close now in that category. But Harris is dominated in the body and in the legs. But that's not what judges look at a lot of times. Now Carlson coming in for the takedown, he gets shoved off by Ponzinibbio, who's going to stay on top and kick him. And we'll see how long this goes for before the judge stands him up, or the ref stands him up. Yeah, and if you're Ponzinibbio, you're probably content with this because this looks good for you. And you're wasting about, 30 to 45 seconds here probably. So Harris on his back trying to land leg kicks. Ponzinibbio on top trying to land leg kicks. And now you got Harris looking to get the takedown now as he dives into the hip. Now he's got the back of Ponzinibbio. But Ponzinibbio will fight out of it with an elbow. Nice. So the first minute kind of just snuck away from us here. Or ran away from us, I should say. As not much happened. And boy, I guess they're supposed to expand the apex. It doesn't look like it expanded too much. There's not a lot of people there. On certain angles, you see some extra rows and things like that, but it's still quiet enough to where you can hear the coaches yelling and screaming. 3:20 left in the fight. Nice left by Harris. And if you're Harris, you got to go back to the jab here in these final few minutes. You got to reestablish yourself, potentially land a KO. But everything was starting with the jab. And he's kind of, not that he's gotten away from that, but Ponzinibbio's done enough to disrupt it. Shooting in for takedowns, scrambling a little bit, keeping Harris off balance. Nice leg kick there by Harris. Boy, this fight is too close for comfort. We had Carlson Harris winning. That's in doubt right now as Harris is starting to wear down. Oh, he takes a right and a left, and now he's covering up. And he's having a tough time keeping up with Ponzinibbio now. Oh, and a nice right by Ponzinibbio. Carlson Harris is in trouble. Oh, boy. Oh, and Carlson goes down. He takes a right, and now he covers up, and he's exhausted. He's trying to do enough to keep this thing going, but he's completely tired. And Harris back to his feet, but he's completely exhausted. 2:08 left in the fight. What's going through Carlson Harris's head right now? He once had this fight going his way, and now it's beginning to turn against him as he takes a left, and the ref's going to let it go. And a lot of refs might have stopped it, and that's it. The ref jumps in, and this ref was kind of confused as to when to jump in, but he finally jumps in. I think it should have been stopped, but he was kind of like in, out, and it's like, I already went in, so I got to stop it now. And that's kind of how it went down. But Santiago Ponzinibbio with the big TKO here over Carlson Harris. He's going to move to 31-8. This guy's ridiculous. Welterweight division, UFC Vegas, 101. So another fight in the books, ladies and gentlemen. Another fight in the books, and all these fights have just been kind of ridiculous, man. All these fights have just been, even this one, much like the Roman Kopylov-Chris Curtis fight, is going right down to the wire. I mean, it's going right down to the wire. And it gets stopped deep into the third round. Keeping us busy tonight, though. Which I guess is a good thing. It's keeping us busy. But the bottom line is we're getting finish after finish after finish. So you cannot be upset with that. You can't be upset with finishes. So listen, stay tuned, man. We got a big one coming up with the rematch between Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas. Coming up next. Actually, I got to set up the break because I'm slacking today. I'm absolutely slacking. Don't even have the break set up. Get it together, Crisscross. We will. Don't worry. We will. So when we come back, this fight will be on tap, obviously. But we, of course, want to get to the prediction for you in the lead up to this fight. And, of course, it's the rematch, so you hear more about that. And we'll be right back after this. Let's talk about Jon Jones. We know Joe Rogan revealed speculation or rumors that Jon Jones is seeking $30 million to fight Tom Aspinall. Now, is this true or not? We have no idea. This is just what Joe Rogan is reporting on in terms of the rumors. So will the UFC give it to him? I don't know, but it's quite the ask to seek $30 million. And if he gets it, Francis Ngannou is going to be highly upset, right? Because these two guys couldn't get like 6 to 8 million, maybe 10 million for that matchup, and that would have been probably bigger than Aspinall. But Aspinall's a big fight right now because it's the next best person to potentially dethrone Jon Jones. So who doesn't want to see this fight? Everybody wants to see it. So will the UFC give it to him? They're going to have to in order for him to fight. So that's the news there, and we'll continue reporting on that as more information comes in until that fight finally gets announced. So before we get out of here, let's jump into the Q&A. In terms of Khamzat Chimaev winning the title, the Master says if Khamzat wins the belt and Alex Pereira beats Ankalaev, then Pereira versus Khamzat is going to be the super fight of the year. And yeah, and that fight may, if it doesn't happen in 2025, could be 2026 because you got to wait for Duplessis versus Strickland. That's in February. Then you figure, okay, if Khamzat does get the title fight, that's not going to be till July or August. The UFC will have to, unless Trump lets Khamzat in the country, which is very possible. If not, we're going to have to wait till Abu Dhabi or Saudi Arabia or something like that for a potential main event fight where Khamzat can't get into the U.S. So it's hard to believe if that's the schedule and that's the way things transpire that Pereira versus Khamzat would happen this year. Just doesn't seem likely, but Pereira rebounds quick. And, you know, if Khamzat wins the belt and he is taking a chance at light heavyweight, I think he might return quickly too. So we'll have to wait and see, but you could be right. Khamzat versus Pereira update, but this is more in terms of Donald Cerrone's comeback. Ambassador says stay retired. And I think that's what a lot of people were saying about Donald Cerrone's comeback. It's like, once you retire, that's it, man. Tony says, in terms of Jamal Hill versus Yuri Prochazka, this is a tough one, no doubt. The problem is Yuri has fought the better guys. I guess people using the Glover gauge, but Hill isn't wrestling. Yeah, and, you know, Hill has struggled in the comeback because he's fought Alex Pereira. This is Yuri Prochazka. This is going to be pretty much an even fight. And I'm highly interested, but we believe Jamal Hill will get the win there. And we'll revisit that several times, I'm sure. As we move forward, looking at Sean O'Malley, Jim Johnson says, Sean couldn't beat Merab. He's not beating Umar. And, you know, it's two different matchups, but I understand why you would say that. I just think Sean O'Malley is going to come back with a vengeance in 2025. He's still young and has plenty of time. Josh also says if grasshoppers had 45s, the Crows wouldn't mess with them. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So that's what people were talking about. Kind of a break in terms of the UFC fans. You got NFL playoffs going on. You got college football playoffs. A lot of people tuning into other things during the break. So not a lot of comments to really go over at this time. But listen, the fans are coming back because UFC is just around the corner. And that was the point of today's show is we want to get into some of the predictions for this big card, Dern versus Ribas 2. You saw throughout the show there's some big fights here. And even though it's women at the top, this is not a card you want to miss. I mean, it's the first card of the year, right? So if you're a true fight fan, you're hungry, you want to see the UFC back in action, and we will get that this week. And this is just a warm-up for UFC 311. Now, as you get into the main event, things get real interesting. And a lot of times you don't get a lot of viewership for women's main events. But I'm here to tell you this is a high-level fight between Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas, and it's the first card of the year. So why wouldn't you tune in, right? Why wouldn't you tune in? Now, let's go back first to Ribas versus Luana Pinheiro. Big finish for Ribas. Check this out.
And it's 1-1 right now going into this third round. And Ribas leads 14-11 and a big right there. Woo! Followed by a stiff left. Boy, Ribas is really pushing the pace and lands a leg kick. And now a left, and Pinheiro takes a right. She goes down, and she's exhausted. And Ribas is pounding away, and Chris Tognani stops the fight. And she can't believe it. But nonetheless, yes, big win for Amanda Ribas. Wow. And after losing the first round, she just came back and dominated round 2, took over in round 3. You know, got taken down, got out of it, stood back on her feet, and finished the fight. She's going to move to 12-4. Amanda Ribas gets the win.
Yeah, so you see there that Ribas is very capable of not only winning, but finishing her opponents. Mackenzie Dern, no stranger to finishes as well. But in this one, she got finished by Jessica Andrade. And Andrade continues to walk down Dern, but Dern does land some big shots from time to time. There's a leg kick by Andrade. 19-5 now. Oh, big left by Andrade. Dern goes down. And she's on her butt, and Andrade says, gets up. Get up. Halfway through round 2, and Mackenzie Dern taking some shots right now. Yeah, she is flailing. Oh, boy. Oh, come on, Dern. Nearly a spinning back fist. And it seems to me like Dern's in trouble, but she lands a big right. Now a left and a right. Oh, Dern goes down. And Dern's standing. But for how long? And Andrade coming forward. Dern's in trouble. Takes a left, another left. And Dern goes down. And that's it. Jessica Andrade beats the chest. And she's going to jump on top of the octagon. Yeah, and it's not often you see Mackenzie Dern get finished. So then she comes back in a very tough fight against Lupi Godinez, one that she has to win, or, you know, she's in trouble. So this is how it turned out between her and Lupi. Close fight. Mackenzie Dern and Lupi Godinez comes down to a decision, and it's anyone's guess who's going to get it, because it comes down to round 3, and round 3 was virtually even. At the end of the day, Dern dominated in total strikes 98-76, but trailed in significant strikes 76-73. Control time pretty close, but you can give the edge there to Dern, and I just don't know if it's enough. Godinez did lead in significant strikes in round 3, but Dern had a takedown and some control time. So here we go. Oh, it's unanimous. That's good for Dern. 29-28. Yeah. It's got to be Mackenzie Dern. Come on. Yes. Boy, did she need that. Did she need that. And that was a great fight by Lupi Godinez. Mackenzie Dern gets the win. She's going to move to 14-5 on unanimous decision. Women's strawweight division. UFC, Abu Dhabi. So that was a tough fight for Mackenzie Dern against Lupi Godinez. A fight that she had to win. She did, and now it gets her a high-level fight against Amanda Ribas. So that brings us up to the present time. And this is the rematch. Ribas won the first fight. Can she do it again? It's going to be close, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be close. But let's get into the prediction right now. In the women's strawweight division, your main event at UFC Vegas 101. You got Mackenzie Dern taking on Amanda Ribas, and this is going to be a high-level fight. That's why it's been moved to the main event at Vegas 101. It's Brazil on Brazil. You got Mackenzie Dern coming in at 14-5. Amanda Ribas comes in at 12-5. So very similar records. Dern 1 inch taller at 5'4". They're both 31 years old, so same age. I like it. Ribas 3 inches or 3-inch reach advantage, 66-63. Both fighters fight right-handed. Amanda Ribas lands like 4.6 significant strikes per minute to 3.4 for Dern. Ribas also lands 2 takedowns per 3 rounds. Dern just 1 every 3 rounds. What makes this fight more interesting, and this is assuming the UFC doesn't change the octagon size, they are renovating the Apex Center where this fight will take place in Vegas. So the octagon could change, but usually it's a little bit smaller than other octagons. So the previous prediction is meaningless because they're fighting in a different size octagon, which means there are going to be more opportunities for takedowns. There's going to be more close striking. There's not as many places to run and move around in a smaller octagon. Now, Mackenzie Dern struggles with takedown defense at 30%. That's a problem, right? You got to get that better if you're going to beat fighters like Amanda Ribas. Now, she's coming off the win against Lupe Godinez. Impressive win by decision. Both fighters had 2 takedowns. The striking was very close. It was a very close fight. But before that, she lost to Amanda Lemos. Very similar fighter by decision. Lost to Jessica Andrade by second round KO. So she's lost 2 of the last 3. Ribas, on the other hand, 85% takedown defense. That's ridiculous. Beat Rose Namajunas by decision. Before that, or she lost to Rose Namajunas by decision, excuse me. Got outstruck in that one, 93-83, but led 4-1 in significant strikes. Before that, she beat Luana Pinheiro by KO and lost to Macy Barber by KO. And Macy Barber, to me, is a very similar fighter to Mackenzie Dern. So that's something to keep an eye on in this fight. Now, again, as I told you before, this fight is very, very close. You got Amanda Ribas, who's a slight favorite in this fight. And for the life of me, remember, this fight was moved from UFC Tampa in December to UFC Vegas 101 to headline in January. So both fighters are put off for a month. And for the life of me, I can't remember who I predicted to win the last fight because it's that close. But I'm going to lean towards Mackenzie Dern because I like her. I have faith in her that she can come through in this fight. It's a fight that she has to win. Both fighters lost 2 of the last 3. So their backs are against the wall. And both need a win. But I think Mackenzie Dern is going to come through. Hard to say how, right? She's worse everywhere. Takedown defense, takedowns, significant strikes. She's given up 3 inches in reach. I mean, she's worse in every category. So for my prediction to come true, early on, we're taking a chance here in the main event. And you know how we feel about the main event. But for my prediction to come true, Mackenzie Dern is just going to have heart and find a way to win, have the will to win in this fight, and that's when I think happens. And in the past we went with fighters where it doesn't look good and they get but we pick them just on will, and sometimes they win and sometimes they don't. But I like Mackenzie Dern, believe in her, believe that she will get the win here in a very close fight. She'll win by decision, mainly on the ground. I do believe. I know Ribas can go to the ground too, but I think Dern is going to get this fight to the ground, even if she gets taken down, and flip positions and find a way to win there. So in my opinion, Mackenzie Dern wins by decision. It will be a 5-round fight here. Women's strawweight division, UFC Vegas 101. Yeah, and I was afraid of that. I was afraid I was going to take Dern. And these are always tough fights because you got Amanda Ribas that won the first fight. Likely probably going to win this fight, honestly. Taking on a fighter, Mackenzie Dern, that I really like. Right? A fighter that I really, really like. And, sometimes we're wrong because we picked a fighter we like. So we'll see how this plays out. But I do believe Mackenzie Dern can get the victory. But believing and what actually happens are sometimes 2 different things. But yeah, let's go Mackenzie Dern. We'll be rooting for you. And we want to start the year at 1-0. Luckily, we've done 4 or 5 main events and made those predictions already. That way, if we do fall on this one, we don't hamstring ourselves for future predictions and then, picking someone that we're not supposed to.
You're watching the TCMMA Podcast. And now, back to your host, Chris Cross.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. It's your boy Chris Cross. We are live, UFC Vegas 101. And it's that time, baby. It's time for the main event. Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas, the rematch. And you heard the prediction there. We got Mackenzie Dern winning, and this fight could make or break the entire night for us because we need this fight to go our way to get back to 500, 7-7 on the night. And we obviously need this to get off to a 1-0 start. That's the bigger deal. I'll take the 7-7 night if we can get the 1-0 on this card. So you see there, or in the main event, as you see there, we were 6-6, and then we lost Carlson Harris. Now we're 6-7. So that's the way things go heading into Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. And I knew there was something up with the first fight, and what they were saying is Mackenzie Dern was like 5 or 6 months, maybe even less than that, away from just giving birth when she had the last fight. So I knew there was something there that kept her from being, what Mackenzie Dern would normally look like. So she's probably going to be feeling much better about this opportunity for obvious reasons. So we'll see. Well, let's tune this thing up, shall we? Here we go. UFC Vegas 101 main event, first main event of the year, women's strawweight division, 2 high-level fighters in Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. We'll be here for the full fight reaction, so we'll be here until this thing comes to an end. And this is a big rematch because Ribas won the first fight, and this is a fight if you're Dern that you want to avenge, for sure. She's 14-5, Ribas 13-5. This is Brazil on Brazil. And it doesn't get better than that. There's no easy way out in terms of a prediction on this one. Because if it's close, I got the angle where I go with the Brazilian, but this one's not a fight where there's just one Brazilian. So they're both Brazilian. So I got to make a choice. And I chose Mackenzie Dern largely because I like her. But I'm no stranger to the fact that Amanda Ribas is really good. This fight's underway. And I'm ready for 5 rounds, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you right now. If something else happens, so be it. But both of these fighters are capable of going 5 rounds. Although I'd love to see a finish. We saw some good finishes tonight, including some in the final seconds of the fight. A few that were in the 3rd round as well. And both fighters feeling each other out. You would expect this fight to go to the ground at some point. A big left and right by Dern. And if you don't believe it's Brazil on Brazil, just listen to the coaches. Can't understand anything they're saying. I know it's Brazil on Brazil. Ooh, nice left-right combination by Dern. She didn't really connect. She might have tipped her, but still showing that it's there. And she's really going after the leg kicks here early in this fight. If I'm Dern, I'm sticking with it. Stick with those leg kicks. A nice right, left, right by Ribas. And how will Ribas feel? Will she feel like, I am facing a different fighter. She's more prepared and better shape for this fight. Or is it just, no, it's the same person, and I'm going to do the same thing I did in the first fight? Dern jumps in with a left jab. Not a lot landing here right now. for really either fighter. I mean, you got Ribas, who's 5 for 24. Dern a little bit better at 13 for 26, so both around 50% or less. Now Dern looking for the takedown, she gets it, and she finds herself on top. Now both are very good and very calculated on the ground, so it's not just like because Dern got the takedown that it's over, okay? But we'll see what she wants to do with it. And a lot of times she's going to go for position over submission. She's going to want to maintain this control. Now full guard by Ribas and holding down Dern. So you're going to get a lot of groundwork here from both fighters. And Ribas is really holding on. Dern trying to get those hands unwrapped from behind her head, but she's having a tough time doing that. So very good defensive skills here by Ribas. Although it's not where she wants to be, she's protecting herself. So Dern, 1 takedown on 1 attempt. She leads in head strikes 4-2, significant strikes 13-5, total strikes 20-14. So things are kind of going her way here in round 1. It's not like she's dominating, but things are definitely going her way. Now Dern standing straight up, really trying to get that head out. So it's like, listen, she's in top position, but Ribas is kind of controlling her by keeping her head down. And that's not allowing Mackenzie Dern to really upgrade the position or land any ground and pound. So she's really keeping Mackenzie Dern at bay. This is the tough part of the fight too for Mackenzie Dern because she's used to getting opponents here and kind of controlling them, ground and pound a little bit. Maybe she can pull off a submission, but you know, she wants to create problems for her opponents, and Ribas is doing a good job of keeping her head down and preventing her from doing that. And basically, for the final 2 minutes here, just getting the clock run, and Amanda Ribas playing defense. And there's a tap, and Dern's got to be thinking, what just happened here? How did I mess this up? And she's trying to let loose and punch, but again, Ribas doesn't let her. And that's going to be a little frustration for Dern, even though she probably won that round. So the numbers didn't change much. 38-21 for Dern. Total strikes 14-5, significant 5-2 head strikes. So, you know, Ribas walking out of that round with her hand up, and it's not because she won the round. It's because she didn't give up much. She just took the L in that round. So she's down 1-0. And if you're Dern's corner, I'm saying, hey, we can do this for 25 minutes. It's not going to be exciting, but we can do this for 25 straight minutes. Ribas corner saying, what you need to do is hit her in the face. What you need to do is punch. It's great words of encouragement. So, you know, let's turn this fight around. Let's punch her. Yeah. You know, so that ought to tell you that there's not much. I mean, she didn't have a bad round. It's just that Dern is a little bit better of a fighter than she was the first time out. So Ribas is going to have to step her game up and really try to prevent the takedown here. Dern starting out with a couple leg kicks. Ribas coming in with leg kicks and punches. So listening to her coaches, but got to be wary of that takedown. And here comes Dern, who wants to take it to the ground again, but this time Ribas gets on top. And this is a tough part about just trying to take Ribas down at will. I mean, we saw that she can play defense. We've seen now that she can flip a position in which Dern went for the takedown, and now Ribas finds herself on top. And it could very easily stay here for the next 4 minutes. Again, I expect this fight to go 25 minutes. I don't know if it's going to be the most exciting 25 minutes, but both fighters are that good. And really, when I'm saying that good, I mean good enough to defend the finish. We could get a finish, but both fighters are really good at staying in the fight. And now it's Dern's turn here on her back to play some defense. Now Dern's getting the feet on the hip. She's trying to push off. But you know, Ribas is well aware of that. Go Dern, you got to get out of here. And you know, when you got Brazil on Brazil like this, and in a situation where they're both high-level grapplers, you got a real battle going on the ground. It's hard to appreciate while you're watching because you don't see a lot of action. But other fighters that don't have this skill are going to find themselves in a submission or getting finished. Not these two. And Dern feels comfortable on her back, right? Where she remains now halfway through round 2 because there's a lot of submission opportunities there, things of that nature. But when your opponent is as high level as you, they're not going to put themselves in a bad situation. So it nullifies your skills to a certain extent. It's like the equalizer. And you see it, both of them are just, when they're in control, they're trying to maintain position. Ribas doing a little bit better of a job of landing some ground and pound. It's not effective, but she's doing a little bit better of a job of doing that. Dern continues moving back, trying to push off the hips. Ribas continues moving forward, and they're both still just on the ground with Dern in a full guard and Ribas on top. So you see the numbers. You saw the numbers come up. So Dern 240 of control in round 1. Ribas is now over 3 minutes in round 2. So you're basically getting, submission attempt by Dern here. And Ribas looks like she's in a little bit of distress and trying to spin out of this thing. And there's a lot of submission opportunities here for both fighters who are in a very awkward pretzel type situation, for lack of better words. You got arms and legs all tied up in a weird situation here. And you see Ribas trying to be real careful with her next move. As her arm is caught in between the legs of Dern, she lands an elbow. But Dern's got that left hand tied up for sure. Boy, and both of them almost got each other tied up. So Ribas finally spins out of it. Dern winds up on top. And it's not going to be enough to win this round, that's for sure. And there's a tap. And Dern's got to be thinking again, what happened to this round? Very high-level grappling match here with a few punches here and there between Dern and Ribas. What you'd expect in the rematch. 2 rounds gone, 66-49, Dern in total strikes. 16-9, Dern in significant strikes. Head strikes is 5-5, so Dern did not land one head strike in that round. So, and listening to Ribas's corner, they're still giving her instructions I may or may not agree with, but the bottom line is they should just be telling her, hey, what you did in round 2, do it again. 2 more times and get us 3 rounds. Because their words last time were punch her. Well, Ribas didn't do that. She went in right for the takedown and controlled her. Now she landed some punches via the ground and pound, but nothing crazy. But she kept herself out of harm's way and knotted this thing up at an easy 1-1 right now on the judges' scorecards. Easy 1-1. So this thing is now best 2 out of 3 going into round 3. And I'd love to see this fight stay on the feet a little bit. Can we get some action? Good thing is it starts on the feet. 15 seconds in, both fighters landing a couple. Nothing serious. Dern with a straight leg kick. And Dern's this fighter that she had all this promise at the beginning and still has all the promise, especially if she can win this fight. But it's like when she gets to the top, she's really been challenged and she's slowed down a lot. Not because she's not any better than she used to be. It's just that you're fighting better fighters every time. And, you know, Dern's got to find a way to, if she's going to win the title one day or compete for it, she's got to find a way to finish people like Amanda Ribas. And it's proving very, very difficult. Now Mackenzie walks her back into the fence. She's got her pin there. So a little clinch control here for Dern, who's trying to flip it from what it looked like in round 2. So it's almost like both fighters are adjusting. Ribas adjusted after round 1. Dern looks to have it adjusted a little bit here in round 2. Now forget the takedown. Let's get to the stand-up control. And now Ribas lands a takedown of Dern. Now Ribas on top, and now she's pounding away with the right. Dern gets out of there. And Ribas now 2 for 2 on takedowns. Mackenzie, Dern 1 for 3. Both fighters nearing 4 minutes of control time, although Ribas has top position right now, so she's getting there quicker, obviously. 80-68 Dern in total strikes, 29-13 significant, and now 8-6 the other way for Ribas in head strikes. Critical time right now for Mackenzie Dern. I mean, she cannot afford to go down 2-1 to Ribas. And it's tough. It's tough for Dern because you're going to beat a lot of fighters with your skills. But it's when you face Brazilians is when you got to really show that you're the better one. And here we got an armbar attempt. Armbar attempt. Oh, armbar attempt by Dern. And Ribas has the hands held locked in for a minute. But Mackenzie's going to begin to try to pull this thing and straighten it out. But we'll see. You would think if Dern would have had it, she would have already straightened it out. Now does Dern still have that arm? Boy, oh boy. Ribas doing a good job of keeping her hands tied up so they can't be straightened out. Boy, just like that, Mackenzie Dern is losing. Is not going to be able to finish this position, it doesn't look like. Still a little concern on Ribas' face, though. And she's continuing to hold on with everything she got. 120 left in the round. And now Dern has lost the legs. Ooh, now she's going to use the ground to try to help her. Oh, boy. And boy, Ribas has been holding on to this armbar attempt for a while. Dern's still trying, and now Dern lets it go and decides to go to a full mount. Impressive, though. Impressive. So a big battle on the ground between these two. And Dern's in a full mount. But she's got to do something with it. And Amanda's going to grab on that head for the next 30 seconds. And Dern needs to let loose with some elbows or something. Let's go. Let's go. 2 reversals for Mackenzie Dern. I don't think the refs appreciate all this, though. They want to see some striking. This is why Dern's got to open up. And this is a good look for her right now. Final 20 seconds. She's got to get her about 5 or 10 here. Try to sneak this round. Ooh, another armbar attempt. Gosh, 10 seconds left. And she might have got it this time if there was more time on the clock. Oh, she straightens it out. She taps with 4 seconds left. Mackenzie Dern. Let's go. Let's go. That was a big win, bro. That was a huge win for Mackenzie Dern. And that's what you got to do to fighters like Ribas, because Ribas is really, really good. And Mackenzie Dern, it looked like she was going to get the arm bar, but then there was only 10 seconds left, and then she pulls it out with about 6, and Ribas taps at 4, and that's a wrap. Unbelievable win here for Mackenzie Dern. She's going to move to 15-5, and she's obviously excited here. Women's strawweight division, UFC Vegas 101. Wow. What a night of some long fights, but some big finishes, man. Unbelievable. So that's the way it turns out. Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas, the rematch, goes to Mackenzie Dern, and we're 1-0. I'll take that. We're 1-0 on the year in the main event, but we're 7-7 on the night. But you know what? We'll pick up the pace in the wins and losses later. Starting the year 1-0 in the main event is huge. But listen, I appreciate y'all watching. It's your boy Chris Cross. We'll be back tomorrow with the full card preview and predictions for UFC 311. So stay tuned for that. Till now, have a great day and God bless. Peace.